I'm going to start recording. So everybody knows that this webinar will be available after today. We will record it, prepare it, and send it out by early next week. So no matter what, all the great information we go through today will be accessible when we send out that recording. And also, we'll be answering some questions too. So as we go along, if anything comes up or there's anything that you might want to dive a little deeper on, just let us know in the Q&A section, and we'll moderate those, and we'll dedicate some time at the end for Dan and Phil to go through. So right now, I am going to welcome everybody today. Let's see, make sure that we are getting everybody on the line. So let me first start off by introducing Dan Levinschi from PandaDoc. He's the current Vice President of Marketing and Business Development. Prior to PandaDoc, he spent 7 years at a little company called Google, running their digital marketing and Android hardware team in the U.S. and AdWords team in UK and Ireland. We welcome Dan to today's call. I know we are going to bring him online shortly. There's a problem with his phone line, so we're going to get that fixed. And next, I'd also like to welcome Philip Levinson, who is the Vice President of Marketing at EdCast, the company behind GuideMe. He was previously a Vice President at Sapphire Ventures, which was funded by SAP. Phil has helped manage marketing, sales, and customer success efforts at several notable software as service (SAS) companies. He is a Business Insider contributing columnist and has authored dozens of articles on high-tech topics, including marketing, sales, and customer success. Phil, welcome today.
Hey, it's great to be here, Jeff. Thanks so much. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. So thank you for joining us today. I know we're excited to get started. And what I think we're going to do here, just as we get everything worked out with Dan, let's jump to your section, Phil, so you can kick us off. Does that sound good?
Yeah, why don't I do this? While Dan gets situated and set up, I'll start with a few of my slides, and then we'll check in to see how he's doing, and then I can either proceed or we can double back to Dan. Either way, we'll figure it out. That's the good news. We're all very entrepreneurial, so we'll sort this out. Let me go ahead. Jeff, thanks for handing the ball over. I'll go ahead and you can see my picture there on the right. We're going to talk a little bit about optimizing Salesforce today. That's the title of the webinar. I know Dan's got some key points. I'm going to make one critical point, but before I do, let me just skip ahead. And in fact, Jeff, why don't you skip, oh, no, that's okay. So what I'll do is simply skip to mine and focus on one key thing, and then Dan can jump in and talk about his key points. As somebody who comes from a sales background, I've become really sensitive to anything that slows down the ability of a sales team to meet their goals. And the reason that is so critical, meaning why it's important to clear the way, is that sales teams often have very quantitative goals. How many proposals got set? How many contracts got signed? How many dollars worth of deals did you close? How many logos did we bring in? New revenues and new sales revenues. Those are numbers that you just can't hide from. And so with GuideMe and with optimizing Salesforce, anything that can make life easier for our sales teams, when I've worked at SaaS companies, every single one, we had pressure and we had a firm set of goals surrounding our sales team. And anything I could do to make their lives easier was critically important to us. So I'm going to talk about one critical aspect, and then we'll double back to Dan, and he'll talk about one or two others as well. And this is related to GuideMe. Now, first, everything Dan says is gospel. So we're going to want to listen closely to the key aspects about how PandaDoc helps optimize Salesforce for the sales teams that use PandaDoc, and that's going to be invaluable. But there is one more thing I'm going to add to that. Now, whenever I say one more thing, I think of the famous movie, The Graduate, when Mr. McGuire pulls Benjamin aside and says, I have one word for you. Now, in that case, the one word was plastics. That's not the answer here. Optimizing Salesforce is not going to get any better with plastics, but it will get better with in-app guides. Now, that doesn't really seem like one word. That seems like more than one word. It's actually either two or three, depending on how you count them. But in-app guides are critically important, and I'm going to walk you through how those work for GuideMe and for our customers. And let me explain, go back to my main theme, which is anything you can do to make life easier for your sales team is valuable. Charles Jennings had a quote, and he's a very famous knowledge management and corporate learning leader. He said, learning is going to be more effective the closer it occurs to point of use. And when I've managed sales teams, I've really been insistent on wanting them to spend as much time selling, as much time meeting those quantitative goals as possible. I don't want them to become IT experts. I just want them to know what they need to know to do their job effectively so that our company can manage sales as best we can. So this quote is really critical. Now, the reason why sales teams sometimes struggle, whether it's with Salesforce or other SaaS solutions, whether it's marketing automation or other data-related or SaaS-related solutions that the company uses, there's 5 reasons. First, often they're quite busy, and they're not really focused on how do I maximize my use of this tool. They're trying to hit their numbers and make those next calls and do those next meetings and get those proposals ready. Number 2, training isn't always there. And sometimes when it is there, the sales team or the sales rep can't really focus on it effectively. Number 3 can be poor documentation of solutions or poor tracking of how the sales team is using those solutions. Number 4 is competing priorities. Hey, I'd love to pay attention to this, but I've got a lot of other issues that are on my plate. I've got 4 proposals I've got to get out in the next 5 days, so I can't really pay attention to this. Or number 5, it boils down to this lack of contextual help. And so that, I'm going to pick up on that and go to the next slide. Anytime a sales team has a poor or slow experience with Salesforce, there's unhappiness all around. There's unhappiness by the sales team, there's unhappiness by the sales managers, and there's unhappiness by the senior management team that's counting on the sales team to deliver key goals and objectives. So this is a hypothetical example that I'm going to walk through. And Jeff, I think what I'll do is, just to be complete, I'll finish this walkthrough and then we'll hand things over to Dan. So we'll basically do the second half of this first. Dan, I hope that's okay. But in this hypothetical example, I'm going to pick 2 healthcare-oriented companies. One is relatively small, Tiger Connect, venture-backed company that I know quite well from my past down in Southern California. Over $80 million in venture funding, roughly 150 employees, and roughly 1/6 of those are in or connected to the sales team. So that's about 2 dozen, and these are all approximations. Or take a company like Shire, which is a $32 billion company that does over $15 billion in revenues every year, that has over 22,000 employees, also happens to be an EdCast customer with thousands of sales team members. Now, just because one only has a couple dozen and the other has a couple thousand sales team members, they still have the same challenge, which is what? How do you optimize Salesforce for your sales team so that sales team can spend as much time on selling as possible? So I'm going to create a hypothetical example for one of these companies. Let's say Shire, and again, this is completely made up, but let's say Shire in this case says, hey, our goals have shifted, and we now want to emphasize new things with our sales or with our marketing or with the orientation of our products. This happens all the time. Change is happening at a pace much faster than ever. So Sandra, who's a sales manager for Shire, let's say, now is being told by the SVP of sales, hey, I need you to focus on something new. Again, happens all the time. And let's say in this case, it's an outreach to hospitals, major hospitals. And now Sandra says, okay, I need to customize my use of Salesforce. I need to incorporate this emphasis on hospitals into my fields, into my reporting, and into the data that we collect from our sales team. So she says, I'm going to try to figure that out. Now, remember, the IT team says, we're too busy. We've got a lot of other issues. They can't necessarily help every rep and every sales manager with their own personal steps that they need to take. So Sandra's going to handle it on her own. But when she goes to customize her use of Salesforce, she is confused. And you can tell from this lightning in the upper right-hand corner. Now, lightning is good when you're transitioning from Salesforce Classic to Salesforce Lightning, but it's not good when you have lightning coming out of your head. That's bad. She's frustrated. What do I do? There's 100 different places to click. How do I customize this? So this is suboptimal because this is an Optimizing Salesforce webinar. That's not good. So she also can, and this happens a lot, oh, well, I'll Google this. How do I create a customized field in Salesforce so I can track our proposals to hospitals and track the different regions that we are penetrating hospitals? Well, wait, she types something in, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that comes up on Google, and there's a video, but now she has to watch this, but what part of the video is relevant? But now she had to leave Salesforce to actually go, plus this is a video from 2010. She has Salesforce Lightning. This is not totally relevant. Now she's frustrated. So what GuideMe does to help optimize the use of Salesforce is it creates in-app guides, and those in-app guides just point directly to where she needs to click. Oh, I just click right over here. That could not be easier. So now Sandra says, great. And she then gets an in-app guide showing her how to create a new field in an opportunities page. Now, what I'm going to do is, if we have time after Dan, we're going to walk through a live demo of how this works. But I want to illustrate that this in-app guide, where Sandra's able to simply click everywhere that button is and see step-by-step within the app itself what to do, makes her life easier and removes that barrier, those barriers she has to customizing her use of Salesforce. In addition, GuideMe also has a service called Show Me, which embeds a video right within her use of Salesforce. So instead of having to go to Google and type in, how do I do something, it's embedded right there where she can implement this. So that's really critical. So we're going to walk through a demo of that later. But what I want to do, and by the way, you can see this is at exactly the right spot as she's customizing her opportunity fields. And she says that was easy. Again, I skipped over the demo, but what we love about this is it makes it easy and it shortens the distance and the time that Sandra has between what she is trying to do and how she is able to do it. Okay, so with that, this is our summary page, so I'm going to come back to this once Dan is done. Let me transition over to Dan because I want to hear more about what he and what PandaDoc are doing to optimize Salesforce as well. So with that, let me hand things over to Jeff, and Jeff, I'll let you introduce Dan.
Thank you very much, Phil, and thanks for jumping in to take care of that. I'm going to put this back at the beginning here, and Dan, I'm going to pass this over to you. I believe you're on mute, so let me unmute you, and I'll pass you the ball. Here you go, Dan.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Let me know how's the sound. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. You sound very good.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry about the difficulties, but we're good to go now. I don't think that spoiled the webinar. So today I'd like to talk to you about 2 hacks that we're using in our company, and we know a lot of customers are using to increase their sales productivity. So two things I'm going to talk about today is increasing sales productivity through optimizing your processes at the bottom of your sales funnel, specifically the way you manage your prospects in their last stages with sending them a proposal, getting it signed, getting their commitment, and so on. And the other one is I'll talk to you specifically how you can get insights into what exactly is happening in the bottom half of the sales cycle, because this is very important. There's a lot of intel you can extract and you can use it to your own advantage. So let's kick it into gears. So quick overview about what PandaDoc does. So PandaDoc is an all-in-one document platform that helps streamlines your work with documents, with any transactional document. So any document you can think of that has that needs to be signed or executed, or you need to be paid. Typically that's proposals, contracts, and quotes. So the reality of our time is that companies evolve, and we have more and more tools we use. But what is apparent to me and to many people in this industry is that companies adopt new tools, but some of their processes actually don't change. So that's specifically the sales process. People still use Microsoft Word, spending a lot of time on formatting, and then they export their proposals into a PDF, and then the PDF is sent through an email, and then you never know, whether they read the email or not. You're kind of in this weird spot where everything's okay, and you kind of know what your prospect is supposed to do, but at the end of the day, you send that email and you never know what happens on the other end. So I'm going to show you a couple of hacks. So PandaDoc gives you a ton of insights into what happens at the bottom of your sales cycle. It was specifically designed for this purpose. A lot of sales tools on the market help you prospect and get leads, but they don't give you the intelligence to reduce your time to close, especially at the end of the buyer's journey. And that's where PandaDoc comes in. So I'm a performance marketer by trade, and I'll be the first one to tell you that more revenue does not mean more leads, right? Everybody is doing this. And if everyone is buying more leads, leads get more expensive, conversion rates drop, your efficiency is falling. So you need to get smart and optimize your bottom of the funnel. Another area where PandaDoc is a huge help is we save you a ton of time. A key feature to help reduce your document workflow is our integration with just about every major CRM platform out there. And not only CRM platforms, we also integrate with tools like Xero or Stripe. So today I'm going to talk specifically about Salesforce, and I'll give you some very specific examples. Let's go. So the PandaDoc and Salesforce integration can add insightful supplemental data to each opportunity in your sales pipeline. So we do this by allowing you to create, send, and track your proposals or contracts right within each Salesforce opportunity. Because what happens right now, the sales reps are on the phone, and then you get the okay from your prospect, and then they have to go and create a bunch of documents in Word, spend a lot of time on formatting, and you basically bounce back between a bunch of tools, which sales reps end up not selling, but doing all of these admin work, which is not great. And actually, I've done marketing at Google, but I started in their sales team. So I actually observed how they sell, and it wasn't very advanced. We still ended up emailing back and forth, creating all these documents. It was not very, very well put together. So even the most successful and advanced companies out there nowadays are still using these very, very old practices. Our integration with Salesforce also allows a two-way sync, so you can automate all of the Salesforce tasks after the document is completed. And PandaDoc lives specifically in your Salesforce opportunity object, making it very quick and easy to generate docs without leaving your CRM. So let's look at a specific example. This is the familiar Salesforce interface, and this is the opportunity object. And you can see these yellow highlighted text in there, account number, account billing address. We call these tokens, and essentially these are merge fields, and we can connect and extract the information with those with the fields. I'll show you in a second how it looks on the as a final result. So the integration pulls data like account name, customer name, email, and just about any type of information right from the opportunity object, and it merges it into your PandaDoc proposal, quote, or contract, whatever you're creating. If you use, for example, the price book within Salesforce, you can also merge the product information and the pricing into a PandaDoc pricing table. So you don't have to go and copy paste between Excel spreadsheets and all that stuff. These merge fields that I'm calling tokens not only save a ton of time, but they actually greatly reduce errors. You can just copy paste something into the wrong cell, and you're losing time. So in this example, we're looking at the account billing address, right? So we're able to pull that information from the object, and we can pull it into a proposal right away. So as you can see, again, this is the Salesforce interface, and inside the Salesforce interface, you can see the PandaDoc interface. So whenever you create a proposal, you don't have to copy paste anymore. Everything just gets populated with these fields, tokens, called, with these merge fields highlighted in yellow. As a matter of fact, what we do in our company is when we get the prospect on the phone and the prospect is interested, and we say, well, would you be interested in getting a proposal from us? What we do, we actually share our screen and we put the proposal right in front of them, like in 2 minutes, and it's absolutely mind-blowing for them because they say, oh, we can do this as well. And we're like, yeah, you can definitely do this. I mean, that's the whole point. So once your proposal is done, you can send it to your customer from within Salesforce, so you don't have to have this email back and forth. It's like, hey Phil, hey Jeff, have you read my email? Have you checked the proposal? It's all here. So we will actually tell you when they open the proposal, and we'll tell you when they signed it, and we'll tell you when they forwarded it, and we'll tell you when they downloaded the proposal. Like, you will get all of these insights there. And then once the proposal is executed, you'll get a notification and says, hey, the document has been completed by all participants. You're good to go. The deal is sealed. You can pretty much get paid, right? So perhaps more important than saving time is having analytics, so you can get a little bit of an edge in the whole process. And PandaDoc actually provides you very good insights into what happens after you send your proposal, because right now the reality is that most sales reps send their proposals, they don't know what's happening, right? So having a Salesforce integration, by the way, Salesforce is our one of our top integrations, widely used. Having this integration can reduce a lot of confusion in your sales cycle. And PandaDoc can send you a real-time notification whenever the proposal is opened, as I mentioned, viewed, or completed. And having that knowledge, your rep will know exactly how to forecast when the deal will close. So let's look at an example. Here I have Jordan Adams, and he's a signer. So he's my prospect, and I want him to sign the proposal so I can get paid. And within these analytics tab, as you can see on the right, we'll tell you, we know that Jordan opened the proposal 20 times, and he spent 41 minutes on the proposal. And he just opened the proposal 2 minutes ago. So what does that give me? I know that he's in front of his computer checking out my proposal. So I can pick up the phone and call us, hey, Jordan, I was just thinking about you. How is the deal going? Did you like the proposal? Let's talk about it. Moreover, not only this, as you can see in the lower right corner, we'll tell you exactly how many seconds Jordan spent on each page. So you see page number 3, he spent 22 seconds, no issues there. But on some pages, if I see, maybe a pricing table, they spend like 20 minutes. It's like, okay, they have questions. So I can pick up the phone and say, hey, I just wanted to discuss the proposal. Do you guys have any questions about the pricing table? Is there something, that's in there that you don't like? So you kind of have this competitive edge to put you in a very, very good negotiating spot so you can close the deal faster. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is the following. With a tool, I think there's a bit of a apologies for the formatting here, but you know, the in-document collaboration allows you to streamline the negotiation process by eliminating all of these email chains, which, you know, reps likes to close. They like to spend time on the phone, not just emailing back and forth. You can communicate with your internal teams or externally with your prospects right within the proposal, right? All you have to do is to have one tab open in your browser and you're done. Automated approval workflows help sales managers ensure that every document sent is accurate and helps free up their inbox, allowing them to spend more time assisting reps in closing deals. So no more back and forth. It's like, hey Jeff, did you approve this document? Phil, did you approve it? Who else needs to be approved? Everything's done automatically. And the two-way sync between PandaDoc and Salesforce helps you in automated other tasks like, you know, updating a field automatically when a document is complete. For example, you can change the stage of an opportunity inside of Salesforce if your completed doc was signed or paid for, which is very, very useful. To conclude, you know, 9,000 customers can't be wrong. Like, we have over 9,000 customers across 140 verticals. That's a lot of verticals. And they trust PandaDoc with creating, sending, and tracking their proposals, basically optimizing their bottom of the funnel. And I have a very interesting quote from OpMentors. So OpMentors is actually a very prominent Salesforce partner, you know, so they know how Salesforce works. They actually know how the ecosystem is evolving. They know the best practices. And they were actually implemented PandaDoc, and what they saw is that they've seen a decrease in document creation by 90%. I mean, that's insane. You know, all of that time that you save, that you spend on admin work, now you can just sell. And consequently, they've seen an increase in revenue by 24%, which is, you know, a very, very good use case. And we're actually seeing similar successes with the other customers. So there you have it, folks. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, don't buy more leads. Be smart how you build your funnel. And right now, most people, I'll tell you this, are focusing on the top of the funnel. They buy more leads, they invest in these tools for prospecting, lead nurturing, but they're not thinking about what happens when the lead reaches the sales team, right? You have to optimize there. If you can implement a tool like PandaDoc and increase your revenue by 24% just by changing and optimizing your process, like, man, why wouldn't you do that? We are, if you guys are interested, you can certainly give PandaDoc a try. We usually offer 14-day trials. If you want a super hyper-personalized demo, you can request a demo at pandadoc.com/demo. If you guys have any specific questions, I'm sharing my personal email address. If you want an extended trial, just shoot me an email and say, hey Dan, I attended the webinar with EdCast. I'll get back to you and I'll connect you to our team. But certainly something to look into. And I'm looking forward to your questions, guys. That's it on my end. Jeff, back to you.
Excellent. Great, Dan. Thank you very much. That was a lot of just incredible information that seeing how you guys connect with Salesforce and how it can help the whole sales process. So, Dan, thank you very much for that. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. We'll come back to Dan at the end of the presentation to make sure that we do cover off those as best as possible. So right now, I am going to pass this back to Phil here. And Phil, let me move this along for you. I'll move this along to kind of pick back up where you left off right here. And let me pass that to you, Phil.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. So,
you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And Dan, that was great. What I'm going to do is share my screen. We're going to walk through a demo. I'm here with the world famous Kalpit Jain, who's the head of our GuideMe team and has developed a lot of the software and service behind GuideMe. Welcome, Kalpit. Okay. Kalpa and I are going to walk through a live demo. Let me just first pick up on something Dan said, which is Dan walked through an amazing presentation and discussion about how PandaDoc helps save sales teams a lot of time and effort and leverage their leads and convert more of their leads faster. And one of the quotes he used was, let's do this in minutes rather than hours. So on that theme of saving time and boosting efficiency, if you remember the example with Sandra wanting to customize things in Salesforce for her team, but she's not an IT expert. She's not even necessarily a Salesforce expert. So in this particular case, Kalpa and I are going to walk through a demo of what would Sandra do when she wants to customize, let's say this example, by adding a field or a set of fields. So in this case, she's going to add hospitals as a major focus. Let's walk through that example. So Kalpa, we see, this is what Sandra sees when she logs in. She sees her opportunities, and she clicks to create an opportunity, and there's no field that, the field that she needs is not there. She needs a hospitals field, and she needs to set up a series of fields and customized menus related to this new emphasis that her company has. So now that that's missing, what does she do? Well, first of all, instead of getting confused or going to Google or YouTube or calling the IT manager that doesn't have time, she simply clicks in the lower right on this red question mark. That's her GuideMe in-app guide. And then she searches, hey, how do I create a customized field? So she's going to type in field. And then there it is. There's a guide. Now she's going to click on this little green arrow, and this will walk her through exactly what to do for this particular guide. In this case, it says click on settings. Don't go too fast because we're going to just take everyone through. Then she clicks on setup. Again, Sandra didn't have to memorize anything. She didn't have to go to YouTube to watch a video. She just follows these guides. Now she clicks on Object Manager. Okay, now she goes to the lower left. She sees the guide that says click on Opportunity. And now she clicks on Fields and Relationships. Again, just following the guide. And then once she does that, she clicks on New. And now she's able to create this custom field. And there it is. It's all set up. And do we want to actually show that? Kalpa, let's see. So there you go. So that, let me just explain why that was so compelling. It was compelling because she didn't have to memorize anything. She didn't have to take copious notes at the training session when she missed half of it because she was at a meeting, at a customer meeting. She didn't have to go to Google or YouTube and watch something and then, but wait, it doesn't have my customized instance. All she had to do was follow those in-app guides set up by her IT team. Now, the other thing is we also, part of GuideMe's solution is what we call Show Me, which is embedded video. So if Sandra says, hey, just show me how to do it from this embedded video, now she clicks on that middle button and she can see this little video that pops up within Salesforce to show her what to do. And so she can do this to either recap what she just did with the guides or to do this instead of the guides. And now she just watched the video and she's able to do it. So let's cut back to our slides. But that was, and thank you very much, Kalpa. How did Sandra do on that? Great. She did great? Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is just highlight 2 more slides and then we'll hand things over back to Jeff for some Q&A. So let's see. Okay, great. And I'll be back on. Hopefully we, Jeff, I assume people can see our screen again with the slides?
Yes, it looks good, Phil.
Okay, great. So what we just saw was we saw a demonstration of how in-app guides by just clicking on this green arrow. So Sandra's able to do that. We also saw an example of Show Me, which is an embedded video, so she didn't have to leave and go somewhere else. Picking up on Dan's theme, how to convert hours into minutes, we literally converted minutes into seconds. So something that ordinarily might have taken 10, 20, 30 minutes or more, she's now able to do in a matter of 20 or 40 seconds. And this is quite compelling. And Sandra's happy. She says that was easy. And by the way, going back to the original theme of removing barriers for the sales team, we want things to be easy. So it does a couple things. First of all, it boosts employee engagement, it boosts their productivity, and it's the most effective form of learning. So now they're able to do what they want to do in Salesforce with minimal time spent. Okay, let's go to the next slide. There's a lot of use cases. I'll skip over these because I really want to get to the Q&A. But suffice it to say that we've had a lot of success with EdCast and GuideMe with our customers, many of which are listed here. And we are happy to answer any questions. This is not a picture of Calpit and me. I know somebody asked if it was, but it is not. But certainly anyone can email us or come to guideme.io and get a free trial. And with that, let me hand things back to Jeff, and we'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Phil, and thank you for that demonstration. I think that was very helpful for everybody on today's call. I want to ask everybody on the call, if you have any questions, please send them over. I've taken a look at some of the questions that I've received so far, and I'm trying to put them together just to make logical sense. And just as I'm looking at this, I want to remind everybody that this is being recorded. I know it's been asked as well. It is being recorded, and we will send out the recording early next week. So let's get right into it. And there's a lot of interest for what you presented. So there's a couple questions that are very specific, so let's just jump right into them, Dan. The first one here, this is from Laura. Does PandaDoc provide an additional layer of reporting for proposals outside of Salesforce, and how customizable is that type of reporting?
Yeah, great question, actually. So we can, basically you can look at the reporting on two fronts. You can look at the reporting inside of Salesforce, or you can use PandaDoc as a standalone document platform. In which case, you know, you get additional functionality, additional reporting. For example, we have inside the product, we have a dashboard where you can see how your documents are actually progressing through each stage. So let's say if you're an admin or you know, manager, director, every day you can open up the dashboard and you can see, okay, 120 proposals were sent, for example. These many are, you know, 60 are in the process of being signed. First signer is done. This many have been executed. This many have been closed. So certainly, we developed the product so you can just use PandaDoc on its own. But if you spend most of your time in an integration, like it doesn't matter whether it's Salesforce or HubSpot or Pipedrive, whatever you choose, we do provide that analytics as well. So thank you for the question.
Excellent, Dan. I think that was very helpful. And just to follow up with that, here is another question I think kind of goes along the lines with what Laura asked. This one's from Diane. Can PandaDoc trigger alerts in Salesforce depending on activity criteria? I think that's getting at, you know, how you can have either users or you know, just get alerted within the system that something happened with the proposal. How does PandaDoc work with that?
So typically, you can set up the functionality. It really depends on your company. Like we can use our API. We have an API that you can use for this. But you should be able to see the stage of the opportunity change. So if, for example, the document is being executed or you got the first signer, then you know that it's moving from stage 1 to stage 2. And typically you would see that, you know, within Salesforce that some opportunities have changed stages. If you mean, you know, if you're asking me whether you want an actual pop-up inside the interface, I'm not sure whether this is possible yet because it's not. We're trying to be not too invasive into the Salesforce interface. But certainly when an action happens on our end, you will get a signal on the Salesforce end. So, but again, we're happy to provide like a personalized demo and show you the exact functionality. But this is what it's been built for. Yeah.
Sure.
Good question.
Sure. That makes sense. That makes sense, Dan. Thank you. And now I'm going to switch over to a question for Phil here. This has come over in a couple of different ways, so I'm just going to combine it. The main question came over here from Kathy. But can you talk more about how content is created within GuideMe? And can anyone create videos and add them to Salesforce, which I think they mean, to embed them in certain areas of Salesforce for those using GuideMe?
Yep, that's a great question. So first of all, the first question, Jeff, just repeat that first question again.
Sure. How is content created in GuideMe? Can you hear me, Phil?
Yes, the answer to that is there's a creator mode, and the creator starts the creator mode and then builds the guide by actually manually walking through each step that they want the rep to take. And the reason that's so compelling is this can be changed as they change their Salesforce configuration. So for example, with Sandra, as she added new fields and sets of fields, the guide might change. The beauty is it only takes a couple minutes to create a guide in creator mode. And then with the Show Me embedded video, that can be done automatically by just clicking on that part of it. So that video is automatically created as a result of being in that Show Me mode. So it's quite quick. Kalpa, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the creation of guide can be done in a few minutes, and it's a very rapid, fast editing process. So you can very quickly figure out what steps are needed, add them. There are multiple options available to tell the user what action to take on a specific step. It could be a click event, it could be a selection event, but creation of guides is rapid, fast.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kalpa and Phil. And as a follow-up question from Kathy, where is that information stored? Who houses that content?
Okay. So the GuideMe content can be written inside the Salesforce itself. GuideMe content can be written on the GuideMe Secure Cloud. So customers have a couple of options as to where GuideMe content is stored. We do have a Salesforce certified application that allows us to write GuideMe content securely inside Salesforce.
Excellent. Thank you, Kalpa. And there's one more question here for you, Phil. I don't know if you covered this or not, but I know we're talking about optimizing Salesforce, and that is the thrust of today's webinar. But does GuideMe work with other business applications as well?
Yeah, the answer is yes. In fact, we have used examples with solutions that include Oracle, ServiceNow, Workday, and many other SaaS solutions. Also, internal software that is developed. For example, large companies, we work with a lot of Fortune 500 and Global 2000 companies that have their own internal software that they use, and they're able to use GuideMe to create in-app guides for their own internal software as well. But we see a lot of demand from for use with Salesforce, Oracle, Workday, ServiceNow, and many other SaaS and software solutions.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. And Dan here, I just want to ask you the same question, I guess. It wasn't clear. I think you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, but it's the same question here of does PandaDoc work across multiple applications, and how is that data shared between them? Is it through XAPI, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do have an API. We integrate with CRM platforms, storage solutions like Box and Dropbox and Google Drive. accounting solutions like Xero and Stripe for payments. And we have an API which you can pretty much connect all the data between the tools, depending on your specific use case. So, yeah. And I think there's another question by Scott in the Q&A. Is there a lot of back-end work, like in the proposal use, driven by the API? So the typical document generation tools, like for example, like Conga or the other ones, they're usually deployed within 6 months or more. So the deployment is very, very long. Well, PandaDoc is designed to be deployed within 2 to 4 weeks. But again, it really depends on your company and your use case. But fast deployment is something that we've designed the product for. Thank you for the questions, by the way.
Excellent. Great. I think that does help Scott's question there. And guys, it does wrap up me combining the questions that came in. Phil, did you have any additional questions that you wanted to ask Dan?
Well, first of all, it's been a great pleasure to do this in conjunction with Dan and PandaDoc, a company we love and respect here at EdCast. Dan, I was curious to know, you guys have done an amazing job of making the whole document and contract management so efficient. Do you see changes in how companies use PandaDoc as they go from being a small to mid-sized company and as they continue to grow to being mid to larger sized? What sort of changes in the needs of your product and service have you seen as they continue to grow and evolve?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Thank you for the question, Phil. So what we've noticed with our customers in general, the way we evolve our product is, initially, if it's a small company, people might just use PandaDoc for something very basic, like putting in electronic signatures on a document. Because right now, some people still use printers and scanners, and you can use tools like DocuSign or just about any other electronic signature. But with PandaDoc we have a native editor, so it's easier to create those documents. Like if there is a mistake in your contract, you don't have to redo it in Word to re-upload it and then resend it again. And PandaDoc, you just do a few changes. So what we've noticed is that as companies mature and we sell into mid-sized companies and larger companies, instead of having a very specific use case like putting an electronic signature, companies actually use PandaDoc for their workflow and operations. So they deploy the tool inside the sales department, and inside the sales department, they basically train all the reps. And it can be a pretty big sales force. It can be like 20 people, 50, 150, depending on this, on the size of the company. But once all the sales reps are actually trained, the PandaDoc essentially becomes, a tool for any type of dealing with documents, right? If you think documents, you don't need 20 tools anymore, like Google Docs or Word or Adobe PDF Reader and all that stuff. Everything's kept within PandaDocs. Everything's synchronized to your CRM. So reps are actually extremely happy. They have to use fewer tools. It's all more streamlined. They generate more revenue. Time to close decreases. Efficiency goes up. Sales ops managers just absolutely adore our tool. So that's how we're kind of positioning ourselves in the market, and that's how we're planning to evolve, is a tool for automating the workflow with any type of sales document. Yeah.
Excellent, Dan. That was a great answer for that. And Phil, that's a great question. I just want to take the time now. I know that this topic of optimizing Salesforce is very popular, and I think we went through a lot of great points here. And I want to just personally thank Dan. Thank you very much for being on today's call, and thank PandaDoc for taking place with today's webinar.
Thank you for having me. This was very exciting.
It was our pleasure. And then Phil, thank you too, and that's everybody at GuideMe to bring this information to the webinar today.
Great. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Kalpit, as well.
All right, guys. With that, let's bring it to a close a few minutes early. Again, I'll get the recording out early next week so we can revisit this information again. Thank you for participating today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.